Hello, Contrarians, listeners, watchers, subscribers. Here we are with another dual QVR. This one is a demand from patron Jamie Russell, who I guess hit us with a Kyle Goldner combo, a 1-2. Yeah, the first punch, the jab, that would be the jab, right? Like the one that you hit first.
It depends on what combo you're setting up, but a standard 1-2, yeah, is going to be a
The jab would be Dinner in
dinner in
America,
America.
which we covered not on video, but it was just a conversation we had on our
I don't
Patreon
know
feed.
that's like a leading right hand, man. That
Really,
thing
that's
knocked me on my ass. So yeah, that's
is that a bolo? Did,
a bolo. Yeah, it's a
did
bolo.
Jamie just come from the top?
The chocolate L overhand right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we don't know what this is, but whatever, this is the second motion.
This is closer. This movie didn't have to combat the effects of COVID, and also, to my knowledge, is not experiencing like a massive resurgence in theatrical demand. Yet. There you go.
I mean, this video could just give Strange Darling a new lease in life. Oh, actually, 2024. Holy cow, that's really recent.
August.
Yeah, so not even a year old. I don't know anything about this movie.
Premiered in 2023 at Fantastic Fest, though.
Close to home.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, we're Austin based. So, have you ever been to Fantastic Fest?
No.
I haven't either, but I know people that have. I mean, collaborators, patrons, and hosts, co-hosts, Brandon Curtis, Eddie Strait. I know they've dabbled in the Fantastic Fest of it all, and Austin personality that's often referenced here, John Golson. I think he's a staple of Fantastic Fest, or at least he used to be. So I've heard the stories. It sounds like a pretty immersive experience for a film fan. So, and they're usually kind of like off the wall genre movies. So okay, now I have a better idea of what Strange Darling might be, coupled with the thumbnail. I don't know if you're looking at the same poster or thumbnail that I am, Alex, but it's this woman in profile, red hair. Is that what you're looking at?
Yes, Kate Winslet from
Eternal Sunshine.
Eternal Sunshine.
Not Kyle Goldner, I don't think, but that's really the main point of entry for us, right? Dinner in America was a Kyle Goldner vehicle. This is also, I mean, at least it stars Kyle Goldner. I kind of.
It's also got, have you read any of the other cast? It's got fucking Barbara Hershey as Begley Jr.
The name that jumped to me was Stephen Michael Quesada. That's Hank's partner from Breaking Bad.
Okay.
And, so this is just last year. He survived. It's not like he peaked with Breaking Bad. He just kept going. So
one of the things I remember initially reading about this movie, though, a name you might recognize, the cinematographer on this movie, Julio?
Nah, I don't see him listed where I'm...
Giovanni Ribisi.
Really?
Yeah.
Man. I don't know what happens when you put an actor behind the camera. Like it's specifically as the cinematographer, but I don't know. Maybe Ribisi has a hidden talents that I wasn't aware of. Like, how would I know? It's all right. Director J.T. Molnar. I don't know anything about this.
Looks like he's only made one other movie. This was his second film that he made.
Okay.
And most recent, obviously, and written by him as well. 90 minutes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think we'll make it.
Yeah. The only other thing that jumped at me, Alex, Kyle Goldner's character, he doesn't have a name. He's just called the Demon.
The Gaul? Oh, okay. The Demon.
The Demon. Do you think that Woody Harrelson was talking about him in Natural Born Killers?
Who's to say, really?
Only love can kill the Kyle Goldner.
The Kyle Gaul. The Gaul. Willa Fitzgerald in the lead here.
Not Willa Ford.
Definitely not Willa Ford. I'm trying to think of... Yeah, interestingly enough, this is kind of like in the middle of her filmography. She's been pretty busy since this, so I'm not familiar with her. I'm trying to see if there's anything I'd recognize, but not to be.
All right. Well, this looks... I mean, forgive me for making assumptions, but if Kyle Goldner's character is called the Demon, coupled with the screenshot of this lady with the red hair, And the title of the movie, I think that we're in for some supernatural shenanigans. So this might be a little more out there than Dinner in America. And Dinner in America was kind of out there, but in a very different way.
Yeah.
So, I guess, I mean, I don't know. I'm in. You said 90 minutes means that we can put up with this even if we hate it. So
yeah, we'll be all right.
Yeah. But gotta say, I mean, when Jamie gave us these two movies, he didn't say do this one first. And my only fear is that we may have peaked with Dinner in America in a way that Strange Darling could only be a disappointment or kind of like a letdown. And I hope that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
really, how many reviews?
Over 150.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, then let's go.
We'll see.
All right. So for those of you who don't know how this works, I'm going to watch half the movie, then we'll stop it. We'll reconvene here. We'll discuss what's been happening, what we think is going to happen, how we're liking it so far. And then we'll watch the second half of the movie, and then we'll come back and, give it a full assessment and give you a score and, talk about stuff. So we'll be back in 45 minutes with some idea of what Strange Darling might be about. All right. See you soon.
How did I get so lucky tonight? I know it isn't
true. All right. We are back after 45 minutes of Strange Darling, whatever this is. I mean, it is in a way.
Took a turn. Poor Ed Begley Jr., man. Yeah.
Several turns. I was off in my one sort of prediction, which was that this was a supernatural sort of deal. There's no
so far.
Yeah, I guess anything could happen in the second half. At least when it comes to chapter 6. So there's a lot going on here, but at the same time, there's very little going on. Like, on the surface, it should be a pretty straightforward story, but I feel like in the best Tarantino fashion, so to speak, like every new chapter will like recontextualizes.
I was curious how long it was going to take to reference Quentin Tarantino.
Look, it's 11 p.m. on a Friday. I'm going to go with the, the easiest. I mean, what else do you think of? I was thinking Lost. But that's like, a TV show, Lost had that setup of like the flashbacks would suddenly paint everything in a new light. I mean, that's just a structure that, it's used time and again.
You can't watch a movie like this and not like immediately just be like, oh, Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, because, it's our generation. I wonder, like, older people and younger people.
Dude, that's so funny you say that, because that's like the immediate thought I had was like, I don't know how old this JT Moeller dude is, but people that watch this, like, I hate to say it, we're old. And this is a thing of people, this is how movies are made. People make movies like this. And that is part of the blessing / curse of living through Pulp Fiction, is that you've seen something like that and being like, oh, this is what it's doing. And also, holy Texas Chainsaw Massacre, man! They could have John Larroquette do the narration. They could have at least done that. But like, yeah, the beginning of this movie does the fucking what do they call that thing? The teleprompter.
Yeah,
it does like the scrolling text, and it has this guy read over, and this is based on a true story. The following detail is a dramatization of blah, 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 Sally Hardesty and her invalid brother Franklin, and like. Also, the movie starts. Trust me, we're gonna get to some compliments here in just a second. And
these are not even complaints; they're just observations.
Yeah. Some people could be listening to this, and be like, "Oh, they're just old heads." The first thing that happens in the movie is a title card that says "shot entirely in 35 millimeter." I'm like, "Yeah, it's fucking supposed to be, dude."
Actually, the first thing that happens is the big Miramax logo, which I was like, "What? I thought this was a 2024 movie."
I forgot that's still a thing. Yeah,
took me back to the 90s.
But that is like, that really was like a checkpoint for me as far as where we are. That it had to have a disclaimer that this was shot on film. Yeah.
35 millimeter.
It's like Christopher Nolan just being like, I'm like, yeah, this is on IMAX. All right. So all that aside, it's a movie that's very clearly structured in a chapter form. It tells you so with the title. It says in 6 chapters, and it jumps back and forth between the chapters and whatnot. And
it's a serial killer movie. I mean, that's if you had to at this point try to pigeonhole it into something, it'd be like it's a serial killer movie. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre comparison is kind of apt, not just because of that opening scroll, but in a way, you know, it's that type of movie. There's a evil guy. Like,
this obviously the story is written in an interesting way because Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if you like jump around to different parts, it's still the same story.
Yes,
it's Sally and her
but
friend.
the genre, right?
Yeah, yeah. So the story of this, and it took a dramatic turn, literally seconds after the 45-minute mark in the film. Of you think it's just Kyle Gallner who's a serial killer, and now we're led to believe that this gal is in on him, and they're basically just acting out some like sexual fantasy.
Is that what's happening though?
I don't know. Barbara Hershey and Ed Begley Jr. had a hell of a breakfast there, man. I was watching that, and I was like, a whole stick of butter for 6 eggs, and he makes like, what's that show? Binging with Babish. That dude, they got famous on YouTube because he would make meals that like are depicted in movies and eat them. So like, you know, like one of the ones that I first saw was he did like the spaghetti dish from Elf with all the candy and shit in it and ate it. So
gross.
Someone get him on the horn here. Just everything that Ed Begley put in the sandwich he makes, I like, but together I was like, no. Well, in his too, I don't know if you caught, he put a half a stick of butter in his, just like fucking raw dog, shoved it in there.
He was gonna die no matter what out of a heart
attack.
Yeah. So in a way, this woman gave it a favor. It did him a favor.
Barbara Hershey's still hot as fuck.
Respectfully, mountain woman. Willa, not Willa Ford, but what was her name?
Oh shit!
She looks like Parker Posey, doesn't she? Look like Parker Posey at least when they're in the car with the blue light.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
If we had Parker Posey here, it'd be a good movie. And again, I'm kidding. Willa Fitzgerald's her name.
Okay. She literally looks like 3 different people so far. You know, when she's in the car.
Honestly, because she's in different lighting and all these different scenes, and like I think she's wearing a wig in one of the chapters, and I guess the biggest thing I could say so far is Julio, I was like expecting to do stuff. Like I was expecting like fold my laundry, and my fucking work desk here, or not work desk, but like my recording area is a disaster. When we stopped, I was like, all right, I'm going to clean this up and fold some laundry while I'm watching this. When we hit the leave button on Werribee here for the opening, I pressed play on the movie, and I just sat and stared at the screen, and then I was like, oh my God, we're 45 minutes into this. So I'm certainly like taken and interested and captivated by what's going on. Knowing myself and movies like this, I have this sense of like fear that they might do something stupid in the second half that like turns me off to it. But I'm very interested to see what happens.
In theory, this is your shit. That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, Alex, this is a lot more for Alex than it is for me. Like at least on the surface, like
it's a bit heavy with like when you say it's someone trying to do Tarantino making a 70s grindhouse movie, which is just basically what Tarantino tries to do. That should like stress how intense what they're or how like transparent what they're doing is. But yes, in theory, so far we're barking up the right tree.
Here's where I am. I'm enjoying it. I'm much like you. I put my phone down. At first I was taking notes, and then when we got to chapter 1, it goes, I have it here. It goes 3, 5, 1, 4. When we got to chapter 1, which is when they're in the car and you get to see how everything started, I stopped taking notes because I was just like, because they started talking, and so they started having a conversation, and then my main thought, which just took hold of my brain as I watched the rest of those 45 minutes, was this is good and this is like intriguing. I wish I didn't have it in my head that he's a serial killer, and maybe that's the plan, right? But I was like, this would be so much more interesting if I was just like, I didn't know, because that little short film of 2 people, 2 strangers that are trying to have a one-night stand and they're negotiating that. I find that so much more interesting than like, oh, but then he's gonna kill her. You know what I mean?
To be fair, we haven't seen him kill anyone.
I know.
And we've seen
I know.
her kill someone. Yeah.
But she's missing an ear, or at least something happened to her ear, right?
You
it could have been.
Never had any sex injuries, man. Shit happens.
Not to the point where I had to like pour a bottle of like
vodka. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was very. Oh fuck! What am I thinking of? Bad Santa. Oh shit! I should have told you that's gonna sting. Yeah, I agree with that. And the stuff in the car is really good. It's also because I'm so close to the Vegas trip, which is at this point the only time I smoke cigarettes anymore.
Oh.
And so, like in the car, the cigarettes looked so cool. I was like, "Ooh, I bet that's really good." That was the first time I've craved a cigarette in a long ass time. So that first cool when I touched down in Vegas will be even better now. But I did text Julio. Kyle Gallner pulls the cigarette the same way he does in fucking Dinner in America. He does the. I'm used to people, just doing the pinch on a joint, but he does that on a cigarette, and he makes it look cool though. That's usually like that. That's a good way to like out an amateur, but he makes it look cool. And as we've talked about repeatedly, anything a white dude can do to make himself look cool, go for it, brother.
I mean, is it too soon to praise Kyle Gallner's performance? Do you want to hold off until we see the entire arc of it?
Yeah, I would think so, but he's unless we go in some Kate Hudson and something borrowed direction, I think this will probably add to, regardless of where the movie goes, this will probably add to the mystique of the K-Gall. Yeah, I'm interested. I have no idea where it's going to go, but it seems like
we have some options, right? There's either the most ridiculous, which would probably make me roll my eyes and just give the movie a thumbs down, would be if this is all a role-playing fantasy taken to the extreme.
Just like Mickey and Mallory type shit?
Yes, right? Yeah. And
the movie actually ends with Robert Downey Jr. pointing him saying, "The demon."
Yeah, man, we made that comment like in the first segment, and it turned out to be prophetic. That could be it. They've certainly planted the seeds, right? She's really into rough stuff. And like you've pointed out, so far we haven't seen him do anything that could have. I mean, he's shot at her at the beginning of the movie, but he could have missed on purpose.
If he's a good shot,
Yeah. Even he shot at her like at the end of chapter 5, right, when he figures out where she is, but he doesn't kill her. And you would have thought that would have been the perfect time to kill her. So who knows? So if the reveal is just that, they kill Barbara Hershey, they kill Ed Begley Jr., he finds her, and then instead of killing her, they start having sex, I'm gonna be like, okay. But at the same time,
but if Barbara Hershey joins in,
then I'll be like, all right.
Let's see where this goes.
Who is this strange darling? But then what other options are there? Why did she kill? So she killed Ed Begley Jr. because she didn't want him to call the police. So what does that mean, right? So she's done something bad. In theory, it
is also worth calling out that earlier in the movie, you see Ed Begley Jr. dead, and you assume that Kyle Gallner shot him.
Right.
And then we learn that she just bashed his face in with a rotary phone and then stabbed him in the abdomen.
Yeah. But then also at the very beginning of the movie, you see Kyle Gallner choking someone, and you think, oh, this is a serial killer, and this is him serial killing. And then later on, when you get back to it, in the context of the movie, he's just choking Willa because she asked him to, because she's into that. So
how awesome would have been if it cut to that and it was like him actually pounding off, like he just zooms
choking
out
the bishop,
because you can see he's got pants on, but he just like white people style just lets it through the fucking slit in the jeans. Yeah, interested.
I mean, very curious.
If it pays off the way we've kind of fantasy booked, like the negative aspect, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Do you think that the Bigfoot thing is gonna come out is going to amount to anything, or is it just
what do they call them? Squatchy?
Squashy, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to complain if it does.
I will. I would. I mean, I am more. I'm. Here's the problem. My expectations are high.
Yes, and before you get there, the movie starts with like what I believe is the ending with Willa Fitzgerald. Is that her name? Willa Fitzgerald. Yeah. It's her like fleeing a scene in some. She appears to be in a state of fear and terror. So,
oh, you're right. That's before we even get to any of the chapters, right?
That's the credits. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Okay.
There's an annoyingly like folk cover of Love Hurts that I was like, But anyway, your expectations are high. Mine are peaked. I don't know. You and I have watched a lot of movies, especially modern movies, that get us to a point like this where we're just like, and then they drop the ball.
Here's where it is, Alex. It's not. I mean, it is a serial killer movie. It's like whatever else you want to call it, but I think primarily it's a puzzle. And so when the puzzle is solved at the end, if it doesn't blow my mind, I'm going to be annoyed, because I was like, all right, you kind of like dragged me around through time and space for what?
Where it is basically these Tarantino jokes we're making. If this movie does like this, it makes it a puzzle for like expressing and telling its own story. Awesome. But if it just does something stupid at the end that really didn't need to be there in the first place, that's when people like me and Julio will be like, oh, so they just did like Tarantino shit for absolutely no fucking reason. I did laugh out loud at the she points at like I think the breakfast and she's like, what is that? And he's like, oh, it's a puzzle of Scott Baio. They give them away at the flea market.
All right. I don't know how many of you are playing along and watching Strange Darling for the first time as we're watching it. If you're not, I don't know how much you're being able to follow, but you should be able to pick up that Kyle Goldner may or may not be a serial killer, and this movie may or may not be based in real life. Do you think this is a true story, Alex?
I don't know about that. I want that house that Barbara Hershey and Ed Begley have. That's how I want to live.
You want to be a mountain man?
Well, they're doomsday preppers too, but
yes.
Yeah. So he may be a killer. The gal may be in on it.
Yeah, his apparent victim could be also a serial killer. We don't know what's happening. We just know that they were initially going to have a one-night stand. They finally got into the room. That's it. Okay, so chapter 1 ended with her suddenly having some sort of realization, right? Like that's what it looked like. She kissed him and then she pulled back, and then we cut to something else. And so now we don't know. But supposedly chapter 2, which we haven't seen yet, will take us from that to where she is driving away and he's chasing her and he's shooting at her. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like a big deal.
Yes.
And then we're still in the middle of chapter 4 where we stopped.
This movie also, like, to be honest, like what fills in the blanks for the remaining 45 minutes could also just be like absolute
nonsense.
Bad shit. Yeah. Because again, the lady and the demon are the main character's names. So who fucking knows, man?
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe she's running away from Barbara Hershey. We'll see. Because Barbara Hershey's still alive. As we stop the movie.
She could have a gun and a knife, and I'd be like
running towards her.
Babs.
She's about to be taken hostage. She's being taken hostage, and I guess, assuming that nothing else changes, I guess she's being put in a shed, and that's why she's not in the house. When in chapter 5, Kyle Goldner makes it into the house with a shotgun and starts like hunting for Willa, supposedly. I don't know. We'll come back and we'll have all the answers, or maybe none of the answers. Who knows? We don't know this guy.
We'll see.
Yeah, with QT, you're guaranteed to get the answers. This guy, who knows? But yeah, no, having a good time so far. We'll see what happens. But we'll be back in 45 minutes or so.
Over the course of one night, I felt that for you when you had your hand around my throat. Did you feel it for me? Love not true. No, it isn't true.
Gotcha. All right, we are back. We finished Strange Darling. A lot of things finished. Several lives finished with that movie.
It's true.
I want to make two statements right off the bat. One, I don't like this movie's soundtrack. I don't know if you agree or disagree.
Empire Records, it is not.
No. By the time we got to the end, and I was just like lying down, watching the end credits like roll, I was like thinking about it. And it's like not one of the strengths of the movie at any point. My other statement is, I don't know if you looked it up, Alex. The narrator, not John LaRoquette, of course, we knew it wasn't, but it's Jason Patrick.
I accidentally read that, so I spoiled that for myself. But
okay,
yeah,
I waited until the very end. But
is he David in the Lost Boys?
I mean, he's
is David Kiefer Sutherland, Michael. Hold on, we'll solve this in real time.
He is the guy from Speed 2.
All right, Kiefer Sutherland's David, and Jason Patrick's Michael. That's right. They're noodles, Michael. I knew who Gary Gilmore was, which is part of it. I remember him being one of the last people that requested the firing squad for his execution in the 70s. And then I looked it up, and as recently, I lost the page ahead. 2010 was the last firing squad execution.
This year. I could swear I saw a headline saying that this year there was one in the United States.
Interesting.
Which blew my mind. It was like, we still do that? It seems
shit, you're right. Okay, so the previous last one was 2010, and then on March 7th, so recently, some Brad Sigmund in South Carolina.
Yeah, we just reset that timer, like, days without firing squad execution down to, I don't know, now it's 10.
I don't ever plan on being on death row, but that'd be pretty fucking metal way to go. Can't lie.
Would you scream? You just go like, do it!
Yeah. Or Billy Bob and the Alamo. I gotta warn you, I'm a screamer. All right.
Strange Darling, Alex.
Yes, things we didn't. So we kind of proffered the idea that she was going to be the serial killer, which turns out to be the Electric Lady, is her the name the press gave her.
Yeah.
Kyle Gallner's a cop, which is like the big revelation.
Could you tell, like, as soon as we got back into the movie, and there's that shot where she offers him the cocaine, and he's like, I guess, and then we have your favorite shot where she's like in the foreground, he's in the background.
Split diopter, yeah.
Yes.
The diploma special.
His face, I was like, wait, is he having second thoughts because he's a cop? And then it turned, because he was carrying guns, and but then I thought, oh, so he's undercover, he's trying to get her.
Oh, he's trying to get her, but in a different way.
Yes.
And then she essentially poisons him by making him do a line of ketamine, which is not advisable. And then we get another kind of eye-rolling homage to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where he's trying to get away, and she pulls him back into the hotel room and then slams the door shut. And I was just like, I get it. I've seen a movie.
Hopefully, the last Tarantino call out, at least on my side, but she straddles him. He's pretty much, not in a coma, but he can't defend himself. And then we don't see it, but she grabs a knife, and
there's like a ticker on the screen.
Yeah, I was just waiting for Stuck in the Middle with You to start playing while she was like carving him up. This is the moment, Alex, I texted you. I was like, the movie almost made me go fuck yourself. Because I thought she was cutting his ear off. And I thought that somehow this was going to cause... what's that French movie where the serial killer ends up being the protagonist? Is it Wrong Turn? It's not Wrong Turn. The big reveal, the big twist in the movie is that the serial killer was the girl all along, but you were seeing it as if it was like a big guy, but it was actually. You've seen it. You have to have seen it. Otherwise, I spoiled it for you already. But it's a French movie.
Oh, I know what you're talking
High
about.
tension, high tension,
High
right?
tension. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought we're heading towards that, where
has that scene where she takes a dude's head off with a fucking like a dresser on wheels. It's awesome.
Well, here she cuts. Or it looks like she's cutting his ear off, and then what we've seen in the future chapters is a woman, her running with the ear off, and I was like, oh, so have we been seeing Kyle Goldner running the entire time? And it was just that it was presented to us as it doesn't make, that's why I was gonna say fuck you.
Okay.
That's just nonsense, right?
When you text that to me is when I saw the cop badge revealed, and I thought you were like, oh
no,
fuck the police.
No.
What was the emblem she carved? It was it supposed to be like an electric plug?
No, I thought it was EL, which I guess is for
electric.
That, yeah.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I couldn't really make it out. There was a lot of blood. Yeah, high tension. That was a one and done movie for me. I watched that once, and I was like, okay,
I get it. You got me.
When you say French, like my brain immediately goes to like 60s, like black and white, and I was like, what is he talking about? That movie's from like 05, somewhere in that.
Not that sophisticated when it comes to horror in me. Just to get it clear to anybody who hasn't watched the movie and wants to be spoiled, right? So she's a killer. Kyle Goldner was somewhat innocent. He decided what we see in the previous chapters of the movie is
he's a horny fella who ended up doing drugs that he shouldn't have.
Right, and she fucked him up, but he managed to wake himself enough to like shoot her in self-defense. Basically, she was about to kill him.
Yeah, I audibly like reacted to that. I was like, "Oh shit!"
I think it's the best moment in the movie.
Brazenly, like, just pulls his gun out and shoots it, and like, because she's about to kill him, and it shoots her ear off, and then
so then he's chasing her in revenge because she almost killed him and she fucked him up, and then that's why she's a serial killer. She kills a bunch of people on her way out, and then they have this final face-off, and she gets the best of him again. And then Frank, Hank's partner from Breaking Bad, shows up with an irritatingly rookie partner. And the movie, in my opinion, kind of goes off the rails.
Oh, okay. Well, I was about to say, I kind of, sort of, just because I know your body language and the way you deliver lines at this point, of kind of think I enjoyed this more than you did, but I have a substantial problem with the way it kind of ends with the police that respond to the scene.
Yes. I basically, once Kyle Goldner is no longer a player in the movie, I think that was just end.
I think that's going to be the rule moving forward. When we watch Kyle Goldner movies, we're just going to be saying, when he's not on the screen, we're going to be saying, where's Kyle Goldner? What could Kyle Goldner be doing? So she has this bear spray that is like the defense that Ed Begley Jr. and Barbara Hershey use for their house. She sprays fucking Kyle Goldner in the face with it. I admit, if it can debilitate a bear as much of a fucking tyrannosaur sexually as Kyle Goldner is, it's gonna debilitate him too. She pulls him in, literally fucking bites and rips out his fucking jugular, and he bleeds to death. It's pretty fucking wild.
Yeah,
because like there's this elongated shot of her like reeling from what she just did. And then the cops showed up because he called his partner to come in, and not like making light, just explaining what happens. She pulls her pants down to stage it like some type of assault scene, and then Kyle Goldner's partner comes in and has what appears to be a rookie female police officer on the force, who immediately does nothing. Like, she
doesn't follow protocol at all.
Well, there's that, but also like doesn't even start questioning the situation. She just immediately tries to unhook Willa Fitzgerald, and it's, I don't know what it's trying to do, but like the fact that it's written by a dude and it's showing that like that part almost like tries to it does some weird thing to say that like
just because I have a vagina, my opinion
women.
is not.
Yeah, that's an actual line of dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's like blindly accepting. I don't know.
It gets worse, Alex. It gets worse. And look, I wasn't gonna bring it up when it was just like the first half. There was something that was kind of like annoying me, and then this happened at the end, and it's just. I don't think it's intentional. I hope it's not intentional, but okay. So first, a good thing is I think that you can justify the way that this movie's told as a a way to make the audience be aware of their own biases, right? You see an introduction that says serial killer, and you automatically assume it's going to be a guy. Yep. And so you put that on Kyle Goldner, and like you pointed out, you're like, well, we never saw him do anything really, like we've seen him do some violent stuff, but that could have been self-defense, which is exactly what it ended up being. So there's that, right? You see a woman, you automatically assume she's a victim, and so on. In the concept, in the tropes of horror thriller, that's what we're used to. And so the story is told in these fragments out of order to kind of play with us, play with our expectations, and then flip it. So far so good, but when they have, and the best segment of the movie for me is like number one, right? When they're talking in the car before they decide to go into the hotel, and they have this long conversation, and she brings up something that's very true. She says, anytime a woman decides to go take a chance on casual sex, go on a one night stand with some dude, you're risking your life. And she kind of goes on and elaborates, and I was kind of thinking, you made your point, you don't need to elaborate it more, but the thing is, like, the point is made, and then the movie goes on to kind of, I hope unintentionally, disprove her in a way that almost feels like they're making an excuse, like saying, well, guys are victims too. I was like, nobody needs to hear that. Nobody needs, who was asking for the movie that tells you, hey, just so you know, guys are also taking a chance when they have casual sex. I was like, yes, but statistically, the reason, what she was saying, even if she was a serial killer, was right.
Yeah.
When you make her the serial killer and you make Kyle Goldner the victim, you are kind of arguing against it. And then when you add the scene with the female cop that comes in and basically uses her gender to win an argument with a more experienced cop, and then she ends up being wrong, then you're doubling down on that narrative. And so I was like, did this guy realize what he was doing? Is it like an unconscious bias on his part now? It was like, well, I'm going to make every woman in my movie wrong. They're going to talk like they're right. They're going to make the argument that usually hear women in the real world make, but then the movie's going to prove them wrong. It's until
a woman, like just a random woman, kills the bad guy in the end, like a bad girl, excuse me.
Is that an attempt by JT whatever to say no, see,
guns are good.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, but then like Barbara Hershey gets killed, and
the two women at the car, like when she gets the car.
Yeah.
Did you recognize the lawyer from the Social Network?
Yes. Yeah. I was like, fuck, what is she from? So I like Googled her name and then like had to come across it. So all of this could have been like, this whole train of thought, at least for me, could have been prevented if they just didn't do that weird thing with the female cop, where it was just like,
me too. I was over it. I had like, I left it in the past. I didn't bring it up in the previous segment, and I was like, let's just see where we go. It might have been an unfortunate, like, in the process of trying to play with our expectations, this dude accidentally backed himself into the wrong side of of an anti-feminist argument. But then if it happens again in the second half, then it really makes you think.
It's I don't know if it ruined it to the extent of well, it is like fucking Dragged Across Concrete, where we're like, all right, so there was a scene where like they had this weird social commentary, but then, if they had just kind of like moved past, we could have just chalked it up to like weird coincidence or whatever, but then he doubled down on all the shit that he's doing. And so I like this more than Dragged Across
I agree.
Concrete.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, that's very unfortunate. And also, like, I mean, if I'm just being like real, like, she fucking just bit his jugular out, and then they like simulate this very real, like, if I like was being like hyper analytical, I would think, like, my thought would be, if this dude told me he was trying to like make it show, I don't know. I think he just thought too hard about it.
I don't think he thought
JT,
enough. I guess it's one of those two, right? Like he
yeah,
overthought it to the point where he lost the big picture, or
he
he didn't.
overthought it so much so where he's like, okay, so the ending's going to be this innocuous woman kills our villain, so it's going to show that like all women are powerful. Or he just thought like, oh, all women, believe each other, so let's just do this shit here. And again, like, that's the weird part about it. When I was already thinking about it, I was like, well, I'm a guy. This is a movie written by a guy, and I feel like there should be some like female say in it all, and it doesn't really feel like this movie has that. It's a dude like making decisions for them, and I don't know, man.
No.
And again,
See, I feel validated because I was like, am I overthinking it? But then you brought it up and I was like, okay, no.
It really bothered me.
The two of us can't be wrong in this exact same way. So I think that maybe,
and it was disappointing because like I was like really fucking with the movie up until that point. And I was like, what? Like, there's plenty of movies we've done where we talk about like quizzical scenes, but it's pretty rare that one comes along that just stops you completely dead in your tracks, and you're like, okay, what are we doing here? But this gal here, Willa Fitzgerald, very good. If you like movies where the last shot of the film takes about 15 minutes, you'll like this one.
And she's acting all through it.
She is, and she's great. But I was watching, it's like, because I saw like the color starting to fade. I was like, are they gonna do this thing where it fades to black, and then like when she dies, it's black and white? Yeah, that's exactly what they did. But she's great. Kyle Gallner's great. Barbara Hershey and Ed Begley Jr., if you can believe it, like effortlessly are great.
Yeah.
And even the cops, like with the strange scene they're left to play out, it's still very good.
I mean, that dude, he's good, but he shouldn't play any more cops because he's, he walks in and I'm like, it's Hank's partner. And now I thought he was going to be playing a different character when I saw him in the cast. And then he shows up playing a cop. And so you just think of Breaking Bad. So,
yeah, I think we covered our one big issue with it. And it's, you take a very real thing, and then it's not trivializing it, but it's you're trying to make like this weird stance with it that doesn't really work for like the tone of the movie and like what has been established up until this point. So
yeah, I'm still laughing at the idea. Like, what is it trying to say? What's the point of this whole thing? Like, this guy is like saying, be careful, don't trust women.
And more importantly, don't trust women that trust other women. Those are the ones you got to look out for. It's very, very strange. Yeah. But I do have to say, like, everything around that I really enjoyed. And I think it's because the tone of the movie was so like drive-in theater grindhouse type shit that like when that popped up, I was like, what? No, you're on the right path. Just keep going with what you're doing. You don't have to like try to make some big statement here, and whatever your blind statement is that you're trying to make. So I mean, the Kyle Gallner train rolls on, and he is quite good at this. I was like laughing out loud. Like, this movie isn't like, it's not a Buster Keaton flick, but like, okay, this is funny. Leo on Quaaludes trying to crawl to his car goes on way too long.
Yes.
But Kyle Gallner rolling out of the bed to get over to the cocaine to wake him up off the ketamine, that shit's funny. Yeah, I even still probably would land on like a B- somewhere in that range. Because from the point we checked in halfway through, really none of what we were saying is what came to fruition, besides the fact that like she was the killer. But we had all these different like thoughts of like they're in it on it together and all this shit, and it worked for the purposes of this particular movie the way it was structured in those chapters. Probably could have done without like the chapters having titles and stuff, because that feels really pretentious. But
I didn't mind that. I didn't mind the titles. I think that my problem is chapter 6.
One of them should be called the Bonnie situation.
Yes. It's 6. It's really 6 chapters and an epilogue, Alex.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot about the fuck this movie. When the epilogue hit the screen, I was like, oh, fuck off.
I guess we both agree that this movie would be better if it ends shortly after Kyle Goldner dies, or if Kyle Goldner doesn't die there, and basically if we get another 15 minutes of movie, it should be more of the back and forth between the two of them. It feels like a miscalculation to get rid of the Kyle Goldner character when you still have, 10, 15 minutes of movie to go.
You could even do the same shit of like the cops show up and that's the last thing you hear. Yeah. Is like the girl doesn't have to stage this scene. The girl, Willa Fitzgerald. I'm sorry. Her character's name is the lady. So she doesn't have to stage anything. You can just hear the cops coming in and she like screams for help and the movie can end there. And then, it would be an hour and 15 minutes and life would be good.
Yeah. But, I'm gonna land on maybe 3 stars. There's something that just, it just sucks when they drop the ball at the very end. And I was a lot more hyped. I mean, I said it as we finished the previous segment. My expectations were high, and granted, the second half had the best moment in the movie. As I said, is when he pulls the gun and shoots her in the ear. Yeah, because I didn't see that coming. I knew that he was going to survive because we know that he's chasing her in the future. But I was like, how does it? Oh, he just had the gun there. So that was cool. But I think it
really does feel like they carried it to the goal line and fumbled it.
Yeah, there are a couple things that just kind of the Barbara Hershey character. Basically, she runs away and then comes back to get shot, and it's almost like, what was the point?
That part, especially because she has the line of "We're doomsday preppers."
Yeah,
it's like that was your preparation. Yeah, that's the whole point. If she had run off and then never showed back up in the movie, that would have made sense to me because she's like hiding,
right?
She's waiting for it all to fucking go away. Like, it's for her to just to come back and blindly trust the police. And,
it's still 3 stars. I would recommend it. I would tell people it's a fun watch, and I would try to just go in blind and go in, let the movie play with you. And before I forget, on the subject of misdirection and biases, it is kind of plain dirty that in the opening credits they name the characters the lady and the demon, because I mean, now it's just you're going beyond what my bias is, and you're telling me, who is not going to think that Kyle Goldner is a bad guy if you're naming him the demon? And so
I didn't even think about that, but that's a good point, because like the movie starts pretty much like the first non-text thing we see, I believe, is him like it appears as though he's like sitting over someone strangling them,
right?
Like, and why couldn't their names just be fucking Fred and Ginger or some shit?
Unless this is even more sinister, and I'm just being conspiracy theory guy, but what if he named the character the demon and the other character the lady because that's how society sees man.
Oh God. Imagine that, like this JT Molnar, his next movie is like the Andrew Tate redemption piece. Like he's because you could, if you wanted to, take plenty away from this of like, brother, what? I guess his next movie will be like the real. He's made 2 movies. One of them was from 2016 called Angels and Outlaws. It's a Western film starring Chad Michael Murray. So,
hey, about to be back on the big screen. with a
Still
Freakier
looking
Friday.
good. Yeah.
Man.
But yes, if you want to, and at points in this, it's hard not to. There's some very weird, like, just dude stances and like dude takes. It's like, let's reconvene. Let's pump the brakes on this. So we'll see what JT Molnar has to say in the future. Still, against what we've said, or I guess pitted against what we've said, there is some good in this that works. There's some fantastic acting. Willa Fitzgerald, especially in the second half of the movie, just from an acting perspective, is quite fantastic. And it looks great. Kyle Gallner's awesome. Barbara Hershey and Ed Begley Jr. in their small roles are very, very entertaining. And yeah, a movie I'd recommend. It's not an A+ by any stretch, but fascinating piece of business. And again, it's only 90 minutes, so
Yeah, it's no Dinner in America, but
it is no Dinner in America.
But it will do.
Yes.
If you're a big Kyle Golden fan, it will keep you satiated for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up next, Alex, we did these two out of order because I think on as far as our schedule goes, it was supposed to be Baby Teeth first, Strange Darling second, but we flipped them by accident. So coming up next for us is Baby Teeth, which will see us doing this exact same thing with a movie that is not Strange Darling. So keep an eye out for that. And then if you like this type of videos, Alex and I do individual ones as well on our Patreon channel. So for that, you have to actually subscribe to the Patreon channel. But these, the dual ones, everybody gets them. So that's it, Alex. 3 stars for me, B- for you. We've done much, much worse. Jamie, eager to hear your thoughts as usual, or to read them. And for everybody else, thank you. Thank you for listening, watching, subscribing, and we'll talk to you again soon. That summer of